Hello, I'm Ed Rochette, and this is Living History. Today we're going to be interviewing Eva Addams, Director of the United States Mint from 1961 to 1969. Eva, hi. Let's go back now to 1961. President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. You are the Director of the Mint. Tell us your impressions.
The Mint, I think, was my destiny because I grew up in mining camps, and we would see those big trucks go over the mountain, and I would say, where are they going? And the answer always was the Mint. And I never understood why they were going there, because I didn't understand what there was. But it was very interesting, really.
Now, growing up in the mining camp, the Mint, which Mint?
The Mint.
The Mint. They were heading for San Francisco? Or?
Yeah, taking the ore that had gold showings.
Now, Eva, don't let what has gone on in recent years influence the answer to the question I'm going to ask. But what were your first impressions of coin collectors?
Of coin collectors?
Right.
Boy, they were people. I liked them. Most of them. There were a few that were a little brash.
Do you have any anecdotes, little stories you'd like to tell us about your first meetings with collectors?
No, I didn't meet with them all the time. I remember an airline pilot that wrote to me and told me that he understood I had a corner on silver dollars of some year. It made me so mad, and I wrote him a mean letter, which my administrative assistant didn't like, but I sent it anyway.
Eva, during your administration, the nation experienced a rather tragic incident, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. We had a half-dollar, 50-cent piece that was introduced. Tell us about the design in introducing that coin.
Well, to me it was important, and everybody wanted the coin to be in the market. I didn't anticipate the rush there would be on them when they did get out, because the people who bought most of them were people going to Europe, and they were smart because Europeans all wanted one of those coins.
1965. The nation experienced a tremendous coin shortage. Coins were actually being sold by people at a premium. They were being hoarded. What did you do to help ease that coin shortage?
Well, that was really hectic. I didn't think it was so serious until one day a friend of mine who had a gift shop called, and she said, you better get some more coins available because I can't make change. Well, I had no idea that this had really gotten to the marketplace like that. Some of the banks were fussing, but they always fuss anyway, so I didn't worry about that. But when people on the street, as it were, made it so plain because they couldn't make change, I realized we had to do something fast. And I was so proud of the Mint people because they jumped in and really went at it. We went so far as to lease old presses from the Defense Department that had been used to make various things during the war and later, and did them over so we could use them for coinage. And they were great big old things that thump, thump, thump. Finally, our people were able to convert them so they made more coins at a time and faster. But it was an example of great cooperation, and I was so proud of the Mint.
Eva, I believe from between 1963 and 64, when this shortage was building up, you increased the production of the Mint, was it 100% in 1 year's time?
Oh yeah, we went way up. I don't recall the exact figures, but it was fantastic. I didn't do it. The people who worked in the Mint did. They were just great.
Was there any trepidation on your part when we came out with cupro-nickel-clad coinage? Were you afraid that people might or might not accept it? Or?
Well, there was a good bit because, for one thing, and this seems irrelevant, but you'll see what I mean, Gilroy Roberts' initials looked like the hammer and sickle thing, and people wrote in and said, "Oh, you're a communist. You have a hammer and sickle on the coins." And I thought of that red edge that would inevitably show a little bit if we put those coins out with the copper in them. But it was the best combination that we could find. And we did an interesting thing. We had the telephone company, the merchandise groups, the people from the highway departments, you know, where they put coins in turnstiles. All those people had a chance to try the coins from blanks ahead of time to see if they would work.
And they worked, didn't
And
they?
they worked, which is a great credit to the people in the mint, too.
Eva, after you've been very active in the hobby itself, in coin collecting. You've been a member of the Board of Governors of the American Numismatic Association.
That was quite an experience.
You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Oh, no, it interested me very much. I knew there was controversy, and I knew there were vigorous personalities on there. I didn't know quite how vigorous. There were a few events that really got to me. And then when they took out after Virginia and me for being females on the board, that really got to me, but didn't matter. I enjoyed those years. I learned a lot. I got to know the members of the board better. In some instances, that was a bad idea, but that's all right. But it was very interesting.
Eva, afterwards, I believe in 1980, a group of leading numismatists were asked to go to Eastern Europe. It was at the height of the Solidarity movement in Poland. Went down to Romania, and which was quite an experience. You want to tell us a little bit about the meeting the Eastern Europeans? I think you had met a number of them before, but tell us a little bit about that.
Well, they were very grateful we were there, number one. And number two, we were grateful because we could see their mints and that sort of thing. There was real friendship apparent, even when there was no basic friendship involved. And the collectors on the trip were busy, my word. Every place we went, they were off to a coin shop or someplace, which was good. And that's why we went.
Eva, let's go back a tiny bit now. Go back to 1960-61, President John F. Kennedy. Give us a few your impressions of JFK.
He what?
Give us your impressions of JFK.
Oh,
What
I
did you
thought he
think
was
of-
great. He had brains. His prejudices, if he had any, he put behind him and ran the government, in my book, the way it should have been run. He had fine people in the public offices. You always get a few bitter pills probably, but he really did a fine job, and they were so hospitable all the time. And it was really wonderful. I'll never forget when we made that coin. Gilroy Roberts and I went in the snow over to the White House to have Jacqueline Kennedy look at the design. And she did, and she offered some very constructive suggestions. But it just was amazing to me. Their rooms were so cozy, and they were a happy family.
If you were back in Washington now,
I'm glad I'm not, but go ahead.
I might already have the answer to my question, but if you were back in Washington now, you were again the director of the United States Mint. What direction would you take right now, either supporting what they're doing or maybe doing it differently? What would you do now if you were director of the Mint?
Well, I don't like to answer that really because That involves some controversial issues. But Mrs. Pope is doing a good job. She's working very hard. She has, I think, too many assistants because she gets involved where she shouldn't. But the Mint is an institution that almost, you can't ruin it because it's, it has a purpose in life, and the workers achieve that purpose through their own initiative. And even if the director is ornery to them and so forth, they go forward with their work, which is very important.
Now, share with us a little bit about Miss Eva B. Addams. Before you became director of the Mint, you were an administrative assistant to Senator Pat McCarran. You were with the University of Nevada at Las Vegas, I believe. Tell us a little bit.
He was a very strong, fine person. He was a friend of my father's, which is, I think, how he happened to invite me to come and take charge of the office. Of course, I wasn't too welcome in the office because everybody there had wanted the top job. But I shrugged that off and we went ahead. But he was marvelous. He would give you his confidence. I signed all the outgoing mail and read all the incoming, which he sometimes didn't want to be bothered with. But I knew how he thought, and I knew what he stood for. And it was a beautiful experience, really, and one that few people have had, to have a man of that stature have complete faith in one of his employees.
Let's continue on that line. I mentioned Senator Bible, and there was a bill that was introduced while we were experiencing the coin shortage called the Bible bill. Some collectors, I believe, may have misunderstood the intent about that bill. Do you want to tell us your side of the Bible bill?
Well, to me it was very insignificant because he was talking to the wrong people. And it just slipped away, you noticed?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the important thing, that it not go through. He wasn't one to ask for advice. Senator Bible wasn't.
Even today, there is a bill in Congress to change the existing designs of United States coins, possibly removing the presidential portraits and going back to allegorical representations of Miss Liberty. Would you give us your opinion of this proposed legislation?
Well, I really don't like to because I don't want to be controversial. I seem to be the only one in the world who's against that legislation. And I think it's very inappropriate for ANA to be taking sides and the papers and so forth. But my reasons for not liking that bill come from my time in the Mint. I know that it will take years. Think of all the dies that have to be made, all the hubs, what are you going to do with the old coins that are in storage? You're going to let them go out and stay out and put the new ones in with them, or what? And that's the crucial point. If you remember on one of our trips, or all of them, it was a very pleasant thing that if you went into a store wherever, London or any place, Bulgaria, they recognized and accepted American coins. Now, if we go changing those designs, it's going to befuddle a lot of people around the world. And I really think it'll have an adverse effect. And I saw a release talking about seigniorage. Seigniorage is a delicate subject. It's a paper transaction. You never see the money. And I really don't think it'll raise $216 million for the government. There may be a slight marking off from this and that, but it won't ease the tax problem at all.
Eva, one last question. 1969, your last year as director of the United States Mint, you left us with a new facility in Philadelphia, something that you put together. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your expectations and plans for the new mint in Philadelphia?
I can tell you our expectations did not work out completely for various reasons. But that new mint has been a godsend. And we have managed not to step on the toes of any Philadelphia congressman because each one wanted it in his district. But we were able to find a place for it, put it up, and not have any ruckus about that, which I thought was interesting. I miss the old mint. It was a great old structure. But it's a museum now, as I understand it, and that makes me happy. But the new mint really was, I think, gratifying to all of us. I have one great disappointment. I see some of the employees from up there every now and then, and they all complain because they have no place to park. But when we built the mint, we deliberately made the parking garage large enough that the mint workers could park there, most of them. Well, instead of mint workers parking there, Susan B. Anthony is parking there by the millions or thousands of bags. And that just worries me to death because the composition of that metal they use can't be melted down. Now there's your seigniorage. If it could be melted down, that would really bring in, on paper, some figures that would be good for us. But the new mint really was badly needed. And it was designed to be able to make coins more rapidly and more efficiently, and those plans went through. The proof coins set up, and I imagine everybody knows what proof coins are, got sidetracked because engineer on the planning facility for the construction company overlooked the fact that the floor was supposed to be very thick so there wouldn't be any going through or anything like that if we started minting up there. So the proof coin area is not what we wanted at all, but it's working out all right, I think.
Eva, thank you. Miss Eva Addams, Director of the United States Mint, has given us a few minutes of her time to contribute to living history.